Right guys and gals, this video today is to show you basically fitting the engine back plate. Now you'll see that I've cleaned all this up very cleaned all around the edges, and you'll see there's I don't know how many holes there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's a lot of holes around that block casing. Now if you've remembered to do what I said, and that is get your parts and bag them up as you do them. You'll see that there's my bag with my back plate screws in. You can see it's a dirty bag because the parts was dirty, and I told you before, I clean all my parts up when I'm ready to use them. So there's the cleaned parts. They've all been cleaned, been soaked in degreaser, and I've got everything on the bench what I'm going to use for this job. There's the back plate. There's the gasket. Now that is a little bit stained, that gasket, because I dropped it onto the top of the block to make sure it was the right way around, and it's picked up a bit WD-40 from cleaning the block. And I've got my manual, and the manual's opened at the page that I know I'm going to use, which is this picture here, which I'll come back to in a minute. So first of all guys, we're going to put the gasket on the block. Now I did tell you that that's just a little bit grubby. There's your gasket on. Make sure it's all nice and clean. The next job, of course, is putting the back plate on. Now these back plates, although they don't look it, they're very heavy, and I can't pick this up with one hand. And I'll explain the numbers to you shortly. So I'll just pause the video while I get the back plate located. Right guys, the back plate's located now, and it's located in the two locating pins. You've got one at the top of the block, there's the top of the engine, and you've got another one down in the bottom of the block there. Another locating tab. Now you see guys that all these nuts and bolts, all these holes in the side of the bell housing, most of these are for the gearbox and the starter motor. The ones we're interested in are the ones I've numbered here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Because if you go back to the manual now guys, remember the manual is very important when you're doing jobs on these cars. And if you look at this picture here, it tells you fit and tighten up the 7 bolts and spring washers which hold the end plate to the block. Now if we turn this round so that it corresponds to the way my engine is at the moment, you'll see there's the diagram there. Look, there's the diagram, and there's the corresponding shape on the engine. There you can see that quite clearly. So you follow your manual guys, and if you look at the manual, if you look at the pictures, it actually shows you where the 7 nuts and bolts are. It shows you on the diagram. Now to make it easier so you're not transferring everything, hold the manual up against this is for the beginners, remember. Hold your manual up against the diagram, up against the side of your engine block, and you can see where you need to, you'll see there's none in any of these outside. There isn't any in there. So you just need to look where the 7 nuts and bolts are. And then what we obviously do, I've numbered them to make it easy. You can't forget then. Correspond the picture to the block and just write the numbers on them, because you might go for a cup of tea and then come back and you've got to look at all again. Now remember what I told you, I'll go over this over and over again guys, because it is very, very important. Don't ever tighten a nut and bolt on your car unless you can get it in with your fingers first. They're not long jobs, just take your time. One job, make a plan, think about it in your head first, think about the easiest way to do it, and go around and put all your nuts in finger tight. Now one thing I did notice on this engine, I noticed that all these nuts and bolts in this particular part of the engine rebuild, I haven't bought these nuts and bolts, so someone before me has gone to the trouble of, that's number 5, somebody before me has gone to the trouble of buying new bolts for this engine back plate, because they certainly don't look like the original bolts to me. So at some point before I had this engine reground and rebuilt, somebody else has done it before me, which in the grand scheme of things is not unusual for a 50-year-old engine. You know, somebody might have done it 25 years ago, and then for whatever reason it seized up, because it was seized up when I bought it, and just so all finger tight, guys. Remember, it's not a long job. They're nearly all nipped down now. I can't turn them anymore with my fingers. You know, some of them you can just get started. These are all the way in, and so you know that when you put your wrench on there, you're not going to have a problem with it. And they're not long jobs. Like I say, don't bog yourself down with a load of jobs, because what'll happen is you'll just get stressed, you'll make a mistake, and you'll go crying into your missus, and you'll be saying, oh, it's the end of the world, love. You know, I've got to spend another 25 quid or 30 quid because I've made a mistake, because I didn't think. So they're all in. Just get your socket on, and don't nip them all down. Don't nip them tight as you can. Just work around. Just work around a little bit at a time, just till you feel it nipping in. It's not a long job, look. You'll just tighten them down to the bottom, as far down as you can get them. Don't go raving each one down, because your back plate might be twisted. Something might not be located right, and then you'll think, hey up, there's something wrong there. So just go around them all till you know that they're all in place. And each time you nip one down, the others will get a bit slacker. So you know everything's going according to plan. When you can't do that, I mean, I'm holding the video and showing you, but all I'm doing is just, as you can see there, it's not rocket science. It's just careful thinking. Each time you go around, just each one, just turn it a little bit. And then you'll learn that, especially with a cylinder block, there's a set method to torque them down. To tighten them down. So just go around them all. This is getting a bit difficult now because I'm only one-handed, but what I shall do then, the engine back plate, I need to look in the torque settings. Oh, and by the way, I did actually quote you the wrong torque for the when I was putting the main caps on the crank bearings. I did actually say it was 7 Newton meters, but in actual fact it was 94 or 90, I just can't remember now, but they're quite tight them. So again, just double check on your torque settings. I just mentioned, I don't know why I said 7. Obviously it's not. It was, I think it was 70 pound, so 70 foot-pounds, but whatever it was, I did correct it. I have corrected it, so don't think it was just £7. So you just go around them till you connect all them together, guys. So again, that's basically what you need to remember. Check your manual, and then we'll go into the torque settings. My book's a bit dog-eared, and it's coming to the end of its tether, really, like me. It's had a good life, as this book. So we need to look down here: connecting rods, crank pulley, cylinder head nuts, flywheel bolts, main bearings, manifold nuts, oil filter retaining nut, rocker cover, rocker pedestal. They're all listed. Timing cover. The 1/4-inch bolts, you see, remember me telling you about the timing cover bolts? Don't over tighten them. Well, it's only £6, look. It's very little. I didn't think it was listed, but there you go, it is listed. Now it doesn't actually give us any torque wrench settings for the back plate, the engine back plate. So that's quite surprising. So I'll read the manual, because it may very well tell us in the description. So I'll find it. Obviously I'll find it when I've got a free minute, but I won't bother looking for it while I'm making this video for you. So your main thing to remember: check your manual. It tells you there 7 nuts and bolts. Check your diagram to make sure you're getting the right nuts in the right location, because when you do tighten this down, you're tightening the gasket down, and if you've got one in the wrong place, you're going to be pulling in the wrong place, and you're not going to be making the oil tight seal that you're trying to do. So make sure you've got the right nuts and bolts in the right holes, and that's basically all we're doing today, guys. So I'll go around, I will try and find out what the exact setting for those nuts and bolts is, but in the meantime, that's basically it in a nutshell. Once they've been torqued down to to the correct torque, then we can move on to the next job. So I hope you haven't found this video boring. It's basically, like I keep saying to you all, it's for beginners who don't know anything much about engines. It's not for your experienced mechanic, and I'm not trying to tell anybody how to do things. I'm just showing you the way I do it, the way I think it out, the way I work through a job. You can see my bench. All I've got on my bench really, that was for knocking down the locating pin, you know, for locating it. I've got a bit of the old bedding sheet here to wipe things down. I've got my clean piece of cardboard, which is coming to the end of its, because you can lose a little, you know, if your work area is not clean, you can often lose a little bit of, you might lose a little nut or a washer or something. If you're working on a clean area, you'll find that you'll spot everything quite easy. So all I've got on there is that. I've used the other side. Look, it's not that bad for big parts, it's for little parts, but just turn it over. You're working with a clean piece of cardboard, and cardboard's free. You see, that's where I was cleaning a couple of the old things up. The cardboard's free, it's not going to cost you nothing, and then when I finish with that job, my work area's clean again. There's not much of a work area in this shed, but that's what we're working with, and that's all you need. Don't bog yourself down with stuff, moving it all over. I know the rest of the workshop looks like it's a little bit untidy, but when I'm actually doing a job, I make sure that I'm concentrating on the job in hand, what I need, it's there to hand, and then that's it. So if you like what you're seeing, lads, subscribe to the channel, and all you ladies, if there's any ladies there who are watching it. I mean, there is some nice young ladies who are going into classic cars, and if you're learning something from these videos, just give us a comment if you're liking it. If you've got any questions, I'll try and answer them. And if you like it, guys and gals, just subscribe to the channel. Thank you.